So, welcome back. Welcome back to Unfiltered with Christopher. This is episode 4, the shift to hustling. So, if you've been listening so far, you know my childhood was anything but normal. I wasn't just a kid trying to grow up. I was raising my siblings, trying to keep us all afloat while my parents spiraled deeper into their own chaos. But when I hit my mid-teens, things really started changing. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was hustling, right? That shift came with a lot of choices that would stick with me for a long time. Without further ado, I'm going to give you guys a little tune. Let me know how you feel about it.
I've tried over and over to be happy again, but I can't seem to get over thinking this will never end. Too many beautiful nights I spend my time alone. Can't seem to have an appetite for getting up out the door. But I'll get my shit together one of these days, and I'll start to feel better. Maybe I can change, and I'll realize it's not so bad once I get out of my head. I'll get my shit together one of these days. I've tried every morning to wake up an optimist, but all I can do today is just try to exist. Too many years gone to waste on what was never me, waiting for things to change, never knowing what I need. But I'll get my shit together one of these
days. One of these days we'll get our shit together. Then start to feel better, and maybe we can change. That's what this is about. That's what we're all about. So let's get into it here. All right, so hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll finish up with the other half of that here towards the end. So when you grow up like I did, you don't really have time to be a kid. You learn fast that no one is going to come save you. I had to step up because there was no one else. I wasn't just a big brother. I was the one making sure that my siblings had food, they got to school, and stayed out of as much trouble as possible. But that didn't mean we didn't fight. Man, the fights. So there was one time, right, where me and Carrie, we butted heads. I mean, we butted heads a lot because, I was the oldest. He was the next oldest. I was like 3 years older than him. Still am. Well, kind of. But one time, I just wanted to help. I just wanted his help cleaning the house. Like, that's it. But Carrie, he just wasn't having it, right? He snapped at me and he was yelling. He goes, "You're not my dad. I don't have to listen to you." I lost it, right? We started screaming at each other. Then he shoved me, right? He shoved me and I bounced back into this wall. And, in a trailer, the walls, like, they got a lot of give. So it bounced, it had give, and I was like, oh man, I can swing. Like I can come back. So I swung on him hard. I gave him that right hook, right? And when I did, it hit him hard. And the next thing I knew, he was out cold on the floor. My heart stopped, right? I thought I killed him. I stood there panicking, staring at him, afraid to even check if he was breathing. When he finally came to, I felt relieved, but also disgusted with myself. That wasn't who I wanted to be. It wasn't the kind of life that I wanted, but that's what happens when you grow up in a house where violence is the normal. You start repeating the cycle, whether you mean it or not. But then there was my other brother, Kane. He was born 1995, right? 5 years older than him. With him, it was never just one fight. It was a constant battle. He didn't listen, didn't follow the rules, didn't care about anything. trying to get him to do even the smallest thing was a fight every single time. Like every time, I'd be like, "Bro, come on." Um, he was just always determined to make everything as hard as possible. I mean, he's still kind of like that, but he's more mature. I love him. I love all my siblings, even if they piss me off. I love them. And but anyway, uh, so there was also my sister Chance. It was a little bit different story with her. She was the youngest girl. She was born in like 1998. But yeah, again, youngest girl, and so, um, I think there was talk somewhere where she's the first girl born into the family in like 80 years. So she was always, little princess, couldn't do no wrong, and that's what our parents taught us. So that's just what it was. And she was always just too young until she got older to understand what exactly was going on, like how not cool the area was that we were living in. So by the time I was 14, I knew I had to find a way to take care of myself. My parents weren't going to do it, and I couldn't keep stealing food forever. So I started hustling, right? At first, it was just small stuff, grabbing whatever I could from stores and selling it for a few bucks. But then I realized that there was real money to be made in substances. I mean, I was surrounded by it for my whole life, right? So it wasn't a hard transition. Um, I started, I started selling the recreational, right? And I was doing it at school, making more money than I ever had in my life. And for the first time, I felt like I had some control. But even with that money, I still didn't fit in anywhere. I went through this whole gothic phase, the black clothes, the dark music, the whole thing. The whole thing. I'm talking eyeliner and fingernail polish and the whole thing. But it wasn't about standing out for me. It was about finding somewhere that I could fit in, somewhere that I belonged. My grandfather, he always had people around him. My dad was never alone, and I wanted that. I thought if I played the part, I'd have that too, but I didn't. The only people who wanted to be around me were the ones who needed what I had. Friends weren't really friends; they were just customers. And when I realized that, it hit me hard. And since I have realized that, it's followed me through my adult life, especially with being a soldier. Soldiers, it's wild. But anyway, so then there was around the time Hurricane Katrina came through, I was probably about 15 or so. My dad and mom were split up. They took me to Florida with them. I went to Florida with my dad, and for the first time, I thought maybe things were turning around. We lived on Daytona Beach in a hotel, Silver Sands Inn, and we worked in Orlando and Miami. I was making like $15 an hour, real good money for a kid at that age. 15 years old and making $15 an hour. Shoo. But I thought I was doing something big. But that's also when I got my first addiction. It started small, just something to take the edge off here and there. But before I knew it, I was hooked. And when withdrawal hit me for the first time, I didn't even understand what was happening. I was shaking, sweating, desperate for anything to make it stop. So I got through it and everything, and then it was time for school. So that was during the summer, and it was going into my 8th grade year, 9th grade year, something like that. I think it was my 9th grade year. But anyway, I was like 5-7 days late to the school year, and we couldn't get into a school down there, so shipped me back up to Ohio. I got on a Greyhound, 14, 15 years old, from Orlando, Florida, to Athens, Ohio. What kind of parent is going to let their child go on a Greyhound like that across the United States? That's wild. I remember that bus ride like it was yesterday, and it was scary. But anyway, when I got back to Ohio, things were even worse. My mom, she had a new boyfriend. She was high all the time, strung out on whatever pills that her doctor gave her. She could barely function. And not long after I got home, she flipped a car with my siblings in it. Chance was in the car, Carrie was in the car, Kane was in the car. Well, what happened? Chance, there was a cooler full of beer, right, and it slammed Chance in the head. She still has the scar over her eye today. And that was when my dad finally came back to town, not because he wanted to fix anything, but because he fucking had to, right? Not longer after that, my brother Kerry, he had his own accident. We were riding bikes down this steep hill when my hat flew off. He tried to catch it and he lost control. He crashed hard. He ended up with a concussion and a broken arm, and it was so bad that he got airlifted to the children's hospital. And that was the kind of life that we were living, one disaster after another. Not long after that, we'll go into something else here. There was my great grandmother Darlene. She was one who tried to give me something different. She did. She took me for weekends and she pulled me out of the madness, right? She tried to teach me about structure, about routine, discipline. You know, she taught me how to cook. She taught me how to clean. She taught me how to take care of myself in a way that wasn't just about survival. But, you know, I honestly, I didn't appreciate it at the time. I pushed back, I rebelled, and didn't realize until later how much she was trying to help me. I'm always regretful in that, and I loved her very much, and I still do, and I wish I could have treated her a little bit better. Well, anyway, as you know, my parents, they were pretty much homeless at the time, bouncing from place to place. Me and my siblings, we were all bouncing from place to place. Well, my parents, they found a way to manipulate. They found a way to manipulate their way into my grandma Darlene's home. What was supposed to be a temporary stay, you know, she was helping them to get on their feet so they can get going with their life and everything like that. Well, it turned into them not really refusing to leave, but not fucking leaving. It's sad. You know, they drained her. They brought their chaos. They brought their chaos into her house and left her with nothing. You know, there was no way for her to get away from them until she had to leave, right? And she gave the trailer to my dad. Not in that moment. Actually, she gave it to her son, my grandfather, Grandpa Terry, and then he signed it to my dad. But she never recovered from leaving and going to like an old people's home. You know, I can't remember what it was called, but she passed away. You know, I still carry that guilt with me, that me and my siblings and my parents, maybe we didn't physically kill her, but we destroyed her. You know, we were part of that cycle that we're just sitting here trying to escape. You know, it's really sad and it's really unfortunate, but it's what it is. And we're here. So without some further ado, we'll get some tunes, get some happy thoughts, right?
And I start to feel better, maybe I can change. And I realize it's not so bad. Once I get out of my head, I'll get my shit together one of these days. And I'll find a way to be okay when the world falls down on me. I'm gonna leave this place for another state where I can finally be free. I gotta believe that I'll get my shit together one of these days. And I'll start to feel better. And I realize it's not so bad. Once I get out of my head, I'll get my shit together one of these days.
One of these days we'll get our shit together. I love that song. The song, this episode, it just goes. I think I love it. So, you know, ages 14 to 16, it was a turning point for me. I wasn't just some kid trying to survive anymore. I was making moves, some good, mostly bad. And those choices, they'd catch up to me sooner or later. In the next episode, we'll talk about what happened between 16 and the moment I decided to join the army. Those years were filled with even more chaos, more bad decisions, and moments where things could have gone completely off the rails. But they also teach me. They didn't teach me. They set me on a path towards change. Right. If you're listening, and you feel stuck in the cycle of bad choices, I want you to know something. There's always a way out. It's not always going to be easy. It's might not even happen overnight. Might take more than a week or a month. Might take years, but it's possible. So thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in. And if this episode resonated with you, subscribe. Stay connected. And if you need someone to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out. You're not alone. Until next time, stay strong. Stay unfiltered.